2 tails, 1 head, yin yang, one tail, 2 heads, yang yin, three tails, old yin, one tail, 2 heads, yang yin, one tail, 2 heads, yang yin, two heads, one tail, yang yin. Read a passage. From the Outer Collection, out of the Taoist Classics, Volume 2, translated by Thomas Cleary. The Moon on the West River, 12 verses. 1. Errant thought is not to be forcibly annihilated. Why should true suchness be sought? Buddhas equally act on the fundamental essence. Delusion and enlightenment are not confined to before and after. When enlightened, you become a Buddha instantly. When deluded, you sink in the flow of myriad eons. If you can accord with true practice for a moment, you annihilate the defilement of countless wrongs. The fundamental essence is the essence of enlightenment, in which there is no errant thought and no true suchness. It is only because people of the world have delusion and enlightenment that there are the terms errant thought and true suchness. When you are deluded about essence, you conceive erroneous thoughts. When you realize essence, you return to true suchness. When you awaken to suchness, you instantly become a Buddha. When you conceive errant thoughts, you sink in their flow for eons. Errant thought, or true suchness, it is simply a matter of the difference between delusion and enlightenment. If you try to forcibly annihilate errant thought and seek true suchness without enlightenment, how can you get to see true suchness? The concluding line says, if you can accord with true practice for a moment, you annihilate the defilement of countless wrongs. Then you can be perfectly clear. 2. Fundamentally, there is no origination or extinction, yet we insist on seeking divisions marking birth and death. As for sin and merit, these two are baseless. When has the subtle body ever increased or decreased? I have a round, clear mirror, which has hitherto always been covered. Today I polish it, so it reflects the universe, and myriad images are clearly revealed. The fundamental essence of enlightenment, true suchness, has no origination or extinction. There is no possibility of increasing or decreasing it. It is because of attachment to objects that there is origination and extinction, birth and death. This is just like a mirror being covered, that is all. If you can polish away the accumulated dust of past influences, it is round and bright, without defect. Using this to reflect the universe, myriad forms are clearly revealed. What producing or destroying them is there? 3. The essence of the self enters the essence of the Buddhas. The essence of the Buddhahood is everywhere thus. From on high, the cold light shines in the cold springs. One moon appears in 1,000 ponds. Its smallness is smaller than a hair. Its greatness fills the universe. High and low do not restrict it. It may be square or round. What long or short, deep or shallow can you say it has? The essence of the self, the essence of Buddhahood, the essence of human beings in all nations and lands are all the same, not more in sages, not less in ordinary beings. It is like the single disk of the bright moon appearing in 1,000 ponds. This essence can be small, can be great, can be high, can be low, can be square, can be round, can be shallow, can be deep, can be long, can be short. Yet it is not confined to small or great, square or round, high or low, shallow or deep. It is just that ordinary people use it every day but do not know it. 4. The principle governing the teaching fundamentally has no doctrine. The emptiness that empties emptiness also is not empty. Quiet and clamor, speech and silence are originally the same. Why bother to talk of a dream in a dream? There is no function in the function that has function. Effort is applied in the effortless effort. It is like the fruit naturally reddening as it ripens. Do not ask how to cultivate the seed. The Buddha's expositions of doctrine really have no dogma. When a Buddha speaks of emptiness, it is really not empty. The doctrineless doctrine is called true teaching. Non-empty emptiness is called true emptiness. True teaching, true emptiness, quiet or clamor, speech or silence, it is just a matter of unconsciously following the laws of God. What doctrine is there to preach? What emptiness is there to expound? To insist on preaching, doctrine, and expounding emptiness is like talking of a dream in a dream. How can you know the essence of true teaching, true emptiness? Tranquil and unperturbed, yet sensitive and effective? Sensitive and effective, yet tranquil and unperturbed. This is no function within function having function, applying effort within effortless effort. That there is no function within function having function means that the teaching is based on emptiness. That one applies effort within effortless effort means that there is teaching within emptiness. The teaching basically empty, emptiness having a teaching, it is neither true nor false, not existent nor non-existent. Round and bright, unobscured, after a long time there is spontaneous release, just as fruit naturally ripens on a tree. This itself is cultivating the true seed of the essence of enlightenment. There is no more need to ask how to cultivate the seed. Good or bad, forget thoughts all at once. Let neither prosperity nor decline concern the mind. In dark and light, now concealed, now revealed, float or sink as you may. According to your lot, eat when hungry, drink when thirsty. Spirit calm, serene, ever tranquil. One may sit or recline, sing or hum. The autumn water in one pond is blue and deep. When the wind blows, do not be startled. Let it be as it is. The overall meaning of this poem is in the lines spirit calm, serene, ever tranquil. One may sit or recline, sing or hum. Once the spirit is calm, good and bad, prosperity and decline, dark and light, obscurity and prominence, floating and sinking, do not enter the mind. Passing the days according to circumstances, you sit and recline, sing and hum, untrammeled, free, without thought or worry, like the autumn water in a pond, blue and deep, without waves, even when there is wind. What fear is there of vexation or upset? 6. No need to try to annihilate objects. Enlightenment is an artificial definition. Matter and voidness, light and dark are basically equal. Stop dividing reality and falsehood into two. When you understand it is called the Pure Land, there is no more India or Cao Chi who says paradise is the Western heaven. When you understand, Amitabha appears in the world. The essence of enlightenment is originally round and bright, clean and naked, bare and untrammeled, not matter, not void, not light, not dark, not real, not false. Those who understand this attain Buddhahood on the spot. What's the need to try to extinguish feelings about objects? It is because so many people do not understand that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas provisionally defined enlightenment to get people to return to the immediate by way of the gradual, so as to realize Buddhahood. Enlightenment means the true way, in that by returning from error to truth, there is a gradual awakening. 7. Others, self, beings, lives. How can we divide that and this, high and low? Reality spontaneously shines throughout, with no I or they. One need not seek it, thought after thought. Has seeing what is right ever been seeing what is right? Hearing what is wrong is not necessarily hearing what is wrong. Various functions have never controlled each other. In life and death, who can hinder you? Others, self, beings, lives, that, this, high, low, I, they, seeing, hearing, right, wrong, these are all artificial characterizations. If you can penetrate them all with shining awareness and see through them completely, not being concerned with them, then life is as is. Death is as is. Life is all right. Death is all right too. Life and death present no obstacle, and you naturally understand life and death. 8. If you cultivate practices and charity while dwelling on appearances, the resulting rewards will be limited to celestial and human spheres. It is like shooting an arrow up at the clouds. It will fall, simply because the force comes to an end. How can that compare to unfabricated reality? Returning to the original, reverting to simplicity, going back to pristine purity. Objects forgotten, feelings ended, going along with natural reality. Thereby you realize acceptance of the truth of non-origination. Formless form is true form. True form does not come from the fruits of practices or charity performed while dwelling on appearances. It comes from reverting to pristine purity and simplicity, forgetting objects and ending feelings. When you find the true form, every action, every stillness is natural reality. You spontaneously attain acceptance of the truth of non-origination. The Surangama Sutra says, "This person thereupon attains acceptance of the truth of non-origination." A commentary on the sutra says, "True suchness is called non-origination. Truth has no contamination. Knowledge of truth is called acceptance." 9. Once you have caught the fish or the rabbit, you naturally forget the net and the trap. The raft to cross the river, the ladder to the heights, once you have reached the goal, they are abandoned. Before you are enlightened, you need explanations. After enlightenment, verbalizations become wrong. Even though these lines belong to non-contrivance, they too are to be shed. A net is a means to catch fish. Once you get the fish, you can forget the net. A trap is a means to catch rabbits. When you get the rabbit, you can forget the trap. A raft is a means to cross a river. When you reach the shore, you can leave the raft. A ladder is a means to climb up high. When you reach the height, you can leave the ladder. These are similes for words as a means to understand principles. When the principles are understood, one can forget the words. Though the lines about forgetting the net and trap, abandoning the raft and ladder, are telling people to understand true essence and fundamentally are in the realm of non-doing, one cannot immediately wind matters up with nihilistic inaction. By mere nihilistic inaction, how can one reach the state of sublime awareness of true thusness? It is necessary to shed this non-doing before one can deeply attain self-realization. 10. After enlightenment, do not seek quiescence. Guide the deluded according to conditions. When views of annihilation and eternity are presented, there are expedients to guide back to reality. 5 eyes, 3 bodies, 4 knowledges, 6 perfections, and myriad practices cultivated equally. 1 orb of round light, a fine jewel, helps others and can also save oneself. Buddhism considers realization of essence first, but that does not mean that after enlightenment there is then empty nothingness. It is necessary to take this empty essence back to reality. Only this is the true essence of Buddhahood. Therefore the text says not to seek quiescence or extinction after enlightenment, but to guide the deluded for the time according to conditions. Guiding the deluded is the reason for practicing expedients and doing good works. The 5 eyes are the celestial eye, the eye of wisdom, the objective eye, the enlightened eye, and the physical eye. The 3 bodies are the pure body of reality, the complete body of reward, and the innumerable created bodies. The four knowledges are the great round mirror knowledge, the knowledge of essential quality, the subtly observing knowledge, and the knowledge of practical accomplishment. The six perfections are generosity, discipline, tolerance, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. The myriad practices are all expedients and good works. The 5 eyes, 3 bodies, 4 knowledges, 6 perfections, and myriad practices simultaneously cultivated inwardly and outwardly, the basic essence of true thusness becomes clearer and clearer with refinement, like a brilliant jewel, penetrating obscurity, bringing the hidden to light. Helping others as well as oneself, it is always useful. How could it be just emptiness alone? 11. I see people these days expounding essence who just boast of quickness in repartee. But when they meet actual situations, they are all the more deluded. How are they any different from the ignorant? What is preached should be put into practice. Only then is it called speech and action without defect. If you can use the sword of wisdom to cut the jewel, this is called the true knowledge of the enlightened. The important point of this verse is in the last line. The true knowledge of the enlightened is all-pervasive. This is the sword of wisdom. By that true knowledge one can get rid of error and return to truth, so it is called the sword of wisdom. Because that true knowledge is round and bright, unobscured, ever-present, it is called a jewel. To cut the jewel does not mean to obliterate it, but to take it in, not allowing the shining of the light to operate outside. When speaking in terms of substance, it is called a jewel. When speaking in terms of function, it is called the sword of wisdom. The sword of wisdom, the jewel, and true knowledge are all one, not 3 things. This true knowledge is not obtained by talking. It can only be real if it is cultivated by personal practice. If one cannot personally practice it and only wants to talk about it, considering a quick wit to be insight, one will be confused in actual events. What will be accomplished? Therefore, when it says, if you are able to use the sword of wisdom to cut the jewel, this is called the true knowledge of the enlightened. Only when the words and actions are complete is it really true knowledge. Verbal quickness in repartee is not true knowledge. 12. If you want to understand the sublime path of birthlessness, it is all a matter of seeing the true mind for yourself. The true body has no form, and no cause either. The pure spiritual body is just thus. This path is not non-being and not being, not in between, not to be sought there either. When both extremes are dismissed, abandon the middle. Once you see it, this is called supreme. Once you see the true mind, this is the sublime path. There is no need to seek the sublime path elsewhere. The true mind is unstained, unattached, unperturbed, unmoved, formless and soundless. This is also called the pure spiritual body. This mind, this body, is not existent, not non-existent, yet both existent and non-existent. It cannot be sought in being, cannot be sought in non-being, and cannot be found in neither being nor non-being. Since none of these 3 apply to it, try to think what it is. When you see this, you immediately transcend to birthlessness. This is called the sublime path of the Supreme One vehicle. The true body and true mind are originally one. In terms of substance, it is called the true body. In terms of function, it is called the true mind. Substance and function is one, body and mind forgotten, physically and spiritually sublimated, merging with the Tao in reality. Isn't this what birthlessness means? We will read our first primary hexagram. Solid, broken, 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 broken. This old yin will transform to a young yang, giving us a supporting hexagram of solid, broken, broken, broken. Our bottom trigram on our first hexagram, or primary hexagram, is solid, broken, broken, which is Zen thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son in the trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. And then our outer or top trigram will be Kun, earth. Kun is earth, open to receive and support what comes to her, providing for its full development. She makes inspiration manifest, gives it form and sustains its growth. Earth is available to be used, ready to lend her strength to the work without limit. She protects and accepts all things in their totality, present and potential, in one unconditional embrace. Earth is mother, found in the southwest and the harvest time of late summer and early autumn. Those trigrams stacked on top of each other, earth above thunder, will give us our primary hexagram of 24. Once our third line transforms from an old yin to a young yang, that will transform this bottom trigram into solid, broken, solid. And that trigram then will be Li, fire and light. Li is fire and light, both inner and outer. As an inner light, she is consciousness at its most lucid and unclouded, holding things together in the mind, perceiving their differences and connections and discerning the underlying patterns of relationship. And as well as vision, Li is the light that makes things visible, the power to cast light on things, spreading clarity and awareness of order. Li is the middle daughter living in the south, the region of midsummer and the burning sun. That will give us a supporting hexagram of 36. We will start out reading the Taoist I Ching by Lu Yiming, written in 1796. He was a Taoist adept, and it's been translated by Thomas Cleary. Hexagram 24 and 36. Basic definitions for those are: '24 is return. Return of consciousness of reality. Activity obeying the mind. And then 36. Concealment of illumination. Withdrawing after withdrawing effort after illumination, not using illumination lightly, being enlightened yet conforming to the times. Our supporting hexagram, our primary hexagram, supporting hexagram, and changing lines relate to each other in a particular way. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The question you come to the I Ching with, or consult the oracle about, will have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirit behind this moment of time. Spirit or forces shaping this moment of time. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. So our primary hexagram, return, 24, out of the Taoist I Ching. Return is developmental. Exiting and entering, there is no ill. When a companion comes, there is no fault. Reversing the path, returning in 7 days, it is beneficial to have a place to go. Explanation. Return means coming back. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is earth, obedient, below is thunder, active. When activity obeys the mind, the heavens turn in their course while human affairs proceed successfully. Also, in the body of the hexagram, one yang moves below a group of yins. This is the first return of yang energy. In both senses equally is the path of return, so it is called return. This hexagram represents the return of yang within primordial yin. It follows on the previous hexagram adornment. Adornment is being clear-minded and resting in the proper place, thereby to nurture clarity and operate the fire, to gather primordial true yang. Gathering true yang is the path of returning yang in the midst of yin, reordering personal affairs by which one can appropriate the creativity of nature and comprehend life and death, so that return is unfailingly developmental. Though the path of return is developmental, nevertheless people accept the false and neglect the real. Most do not know the return of the real. If you know it, it is near at hand. The mind of Tao appears, the human mentality retreats, and you can exit and enter the midst of yin and yang without being adversely affected by yin and yang. It is necessary to know the timing of return. It is not to be forcefully sought before the proper time, and should not be missed once the time has come. Only then can one find the real. When people are first born, they are all good with no evil. Then, when they get mixed up in acquired conditioning, yin injures their yang, and there is a loss of original natural reality. But even though it is lost, it is never totally non-existent. There is still a breath of living potential within. This may appear at times, but people do not recognize it even when it does, because they are deceived by personal desires and confused by worldly affairs. To return it, restore it, It is necessary to take advantage of times when this living potential appears and set about quickly gathering it. Only then can it be one's own. If the living potential has not yet appeared, and you keep to quietude and empty silence, how can it return? Thus it returns when a companion comes, and only then can one be without fault. The character for companion is written as a conjunction of two moons. One is yang and one is yin. When yin culminates, yang is born. There is yang within yin. This is called a companion comes. If yin does not culminate, yang is not born, and the companion does not come. If the companion does not come, yin and yang do not interact, then where would creative energy come from? Therefore, it is necessary that a companion come for the living potential to appear. The living potential appears with the interaction of yin and yang. Gather it and put it in the furnace of creation, and in a moment, calamity turns into blessing. Punishment turns into reward. Before there was fault because of loss of true yang. Now that true yang is restored, one can be without fault. But though one can be impeccable by restoring this, the way to do it involves work in an orderly fashion, restoring it gradually. One cannot restore it immediately, or even if one does restore it immediately, it cannot be stabilized. It is necessary to first refine oneself and master the mind, waiting for the time to act. Therefore, reversing the path, reality returns in 7 days. Reversing means turning around and operating in reverse, away from progressive conditioning, back to the original integrity of the real mind. 7 days is the number of the yang fire. The energy of harmony of essence and feeling in people is the yang fire. This is the real. The restlessness of acquired energy in people is the yin fire. This is the false. The real completes life. The false injures life. Reversing the path means first reversing this false fire so as to return to the real fire. In 7 days, the yang fire arises and the yin fire dies out. Utterly empty and silent, within black there is white. The primordial energy becomes manifest from within nothingness. Gradually gathering and refining it, one can crystallize the restored elixir. This path is not difficult to know, but it is difficult to practice. When you know it, it is most important to practice it. If you know it but do not practice it, that is tantamount to not knowing. Having a place to go and promptly setting about cultivating it, it will surely return gradually. And from single yang until 6 yangs are pure and complete. What can compare to the growth and fruition of that return? And then supporting hexagram 36. Concealment of illumination, or injury of illumination. In concealment of illumination, it is beneficial to be upright in difficulty. Explanation. The name of this hexagram has 2 meanings. The word for concealment also means injury. In the qualities of the hexagram, above is earth, receptive, and below is fire, luminous. Illumination within receptivity, being illumined yet conforming to the times, using a cord to nurture illumination. It is therefore called concealment of illumination. Also, light being within darkness, there is illumination, but it is injured, so it is also called injury of illumination. This hexagram represents being personally illumined and truthful, withdrawing the firing. It follows on the previous hexagram, power of the great. Power of the great means strength in action. Being strong in action requires knowledge of when to advance and when to withdraw. If there is advance but not withdrawal, power is excessive and will surely injure the illumination. When illumination is injured, power is ruined. This is why the work of withdrawing the firing is important. Withdrawing the firing means concealing illumination in the most recondite, secret place and not using it lightly. In practice of the Tao, the reason for advancing the fire and using illumination is simply to advance to illumination because of not being illumined. Once one has advanced to illumination, and inside and out are lucid and clear, then one can conceal one's illumination and nurture it, unbeknownst to others, eventually to reach the realm of consummate good without evil, causing illumination to be free of any defect. Only then can it be said that the fire returns to the origin, a mass of harmonious energy which has energy but no substance, the original spirit of innate knowledge and capacity unobscured, neither material nor void, yet both material and void, not constrained by matter or voidness. Inside and out, all is illumined. Illumination then is not revealed is better than illumination that is openly employed. This illumination has no form or trace that can be espied. Only when there is no form or trace to be seen is it withdrawal of the firing, so that the fire returns to the origin. But this withdrawal of the firing, the path returning to the origin, is also a reverse path. What is reversed? The illumination that is produced is reversed back inward, so there is illumination, but one doesn't use it oneself. Having illumination but not exercising it does not mean vacant inaction can accomplish the task. Therein is the work of preventing danger and the path of constant recollection. The essential point is in returning when in difficulty, where one cannot be free. If one returns in favorable situations but cannot return in adverse circumstances, then the fire will not return to the origin, and the light will not penetrate reality. Eventually, there is sure to be injury. Therefore, in concealment of illumination, it is beneficial to be upright in difficulty, maintaining correctness in difficulty, withdrawing in accord with the time. Illumination does not suffer injury, and the basis of the elixir does not leak away. This is referred to by the classic understanding reality in the lines, "Even if you know the cinnabar and lead, if you don't know the firing process, it is of no use. It all depends on the power of practical application. If you deviate even slightly, you won't crystallize the elixir." The rule of spiritual alchemy is in the firing. Too little firing and the elixir doesn't form. Too much firing and the elixir is damaged. When the elixir has been completed, you should quickly halt the firing, rest, and gently nurture it, keeping to the center and embracing the one, deeply concealing the illumination in imperceptibility, not allowing so much as a spark of fire. In the back, we'll read commentary by Louis Ming on Hexagram 24 and 36. 24, return. Earth above, thunder below. I suppose since we did it this way, we'll read these, and then we'll go read our changing lines back at 24 after. Earth above, thunder below. Thunders in the earth, return. Thus did the kings of yore shut the gates on the winter solstice. Caravans did not travel. The ruler did not inspect the regions. Return means reversion and restoration. Above is earth, below is thunder. There is thunder in the earth. Thunder is something very active. When thunder stirs in the earth, the mechanism of enlivening operates, and myriad things are born. What the ancient kings saw in this was that as everything revives when the positive creative energy operates, So does the living potential return to humans when their positive energy becomes manifest. So they closed the gates on the winter solstice, not allowing caravans to go forth and trade, not allowing the ruler to go out and inspect the regions. This was all to get people to emulate the restoration of heaven and earth, nurturing this point of living potential, not letting it be damaged. What is the living potential? The potential is the natural innocent mind inherent in humans. This is the progenitor of life, the source of yin and yang. Once it falls into temporal conditioning, it becomes covered by temperament and cannot be consistently manifest. When it occasionally does manifest, this is the time of the return of the celestial within the mundane. This time, however, is hard to gain and easy to lose. Most people do not know it and miss it even when it is right there. Because of this, the mundane gradually grows and the celestial gradually wanes. When the celestial is exhausted and mundanity is complete, there is only death. The shutting of the gates on the winter solstice is so that when the positive energy returns, people will nurture it. Caravans not traveling means not allowing involvement with external artificialities to damage inner reality. The ruler not inspecting the regions means preventing keenness in criticizing others, coupled with dullness in cultivating oneself. Once the gates are closed, one is careful and strict. Inwardly, thoughts do not arise. External things do not enter. Thus, the positive energy cannot leak out. Thus it was that the ancient kings established their resolve for the sake of the world and established order to enable the people to live. When superior people who practice the Tao refine themselves and master their minds, illumination arises in inner openness, and the living potential is activated. They should quickly gather it into the furnace of evolution, conscientiously forestall danger, carefully seal it and store it securely, fostering its growth from vagueness to clarity until there is eventually a return of the celestial energy to pure completeness. This is the same idea as the ancient kings shutting the gates on the winter solstice. This time, when the positive celestial energy first returns, is the passageway of life and death. If you can avail yourself of it, you enter the road of life. But if you lose it, you wind up on the road of death. Shut the gates here means closing the door of death. When the door of death is closed, the door of life opens. Heaven borrows human power, humans borrow celestial power. When heaven and humanity work together, the elixir of immortality crystallizes in a short time, without requiring years of effort. Unfortunately, most people do not seek the personal instruction of a genuine teacher, and miss the opportunity that is right before them. Hexagram 36. Concealment of Illumination. Earth above, fire below. Light enters into the earth, illumination is concealed. Thus do superior people deal with the masses, acting unobtrusively while in fact illumined. Concealment of illumination means being illumined but concealing it. Above is earth, below is fire, associated with the sun. This is light entering into the earth. When light enters into the earth, there is light within darkness. This is the image of concealment of illumination. What superior people see in this is that when practitioners of the Tao are among the masses, if they use their illumination too much, they will startle the ignorant and amaze the worldly, easily bringing on abuse and slander. Therefore, superior people deal with the masses by acting unobtrusively, even though they are in fact illumined. Dealing with the masses means facing the unenlightened with enlightenment. Acting unobtrusively means concealing enlightenment and nurturing it. The beings produced by heaven and earth are not equal. The masses of people are not equal in terms of intelligence. There is a mixture of aberration and sanity, and everyone is an individual. How can every individual be totally good? Acting unobtrusively in dealing with people means dealing with them on their own terms, seeing the totality as one organism. This means having a quality of breadth like that of the earth, which supports everything and accepts everything, being responsive to everything in an adaptive way. But acting unobtrusively does not mean that one does not use illumination at all. It means that one is outwardly unnoticeable but free from inward obscurity. So there is inner light within outer darkness. One is able to distinguish in every case who is wise and who is foolish, who is aberrated and who is sane. But though one harmonizes with others, one is not influenced, and though one associates with others, one does not become clannish. One's patterns of activity and passivity, absence and presence, are indiscernible to others. One is like the sun, which is bright when it rises, but also bright in secret when it has set. This is what is meant by the saying that a great hermit may well live in the city. Now we will read changing line 3 from Hexagram 24, our primary hexagram, which will put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here is a place you may find yourself. It's the most specific part of our reading. Hexagram 24, changing line 3. Repeated return, danger, no fault. Explanation. When return to good is not stable, and you return again and again and lose it again and again, this is called repeated return. Yet if your nature is flexible and your will is firm, and you are single-mindedly intent on return, and you handle yourself in danger, if you can do it once, you can do it 100 times. And if you can do it 100 times, you can do it 1,000 times. Even though you may be ignorant, you will surely gain understanding. And even though you may be weak, you will surely become strong. Even though faulty at first, you can thereby come to be without fault. This is return in which one studies when at a loss and strives diligently to carry it out. Page 119. Forgotten the notes, but I remember them based on the chakras. This one would be the third eye. This one would be the root. And that bell I rang is the solar plexus. Hexagram 24, our primary hexagram. Returning out of Hilary Barrett's I Ching, walking your path, creating your future. Key questions. What is just beginning to germinate? How can you follow your sense of direction more closely? Where might the path lead now? Oracle. Returning, creating success. Going out, coming in, without anxiety. Partners come, not a mistake. Turning around and returning on your path. The seventh day comes, you return. Fruitful to have a direction to go. Your return leads you out and home again, through the turning points on your way. Vigor and authenticity return in the still moments of those turning points. Life regenerates from the roots and light returns. By walking constantly to and from your source, you participate in a two-way flow of creation. You go out and rediscover your own way. You return through an open door to your home and relationships. This is a living motion, like breathing, that revitalizes and restores. Relaxed and spacious, it allows time for the path's natural meanderings, never creating resistance. Since you are in motion, helpers of all kinds come, traveling companions who walk alongside you for a while. If someone is meant to be with you, you will never need to leave your path to chase after them. Just as any road can be traveled in two directions, your path also leads both out and back again. And so, in the fullness of time, and following a natural progression, there comes a moment to turn around. Through all this going and coming and starting afresh, it is good to have an overarching direction and purpose to guide you. The quality of returning is alive, growing, and dynamic. A good time to rediscover your own deepest intent and its harmony with the Tao. Image. Thunder dwelling in the center of the earth, returning. The ancient kings closed the borders at winter solstice. Itinerant merchants did not travel. The prince did not tour the regions. In winter, nothing moves or grows. Thunder dwells quietly at the center of the earth. When spring comes, it will surge up and rouse everything to new life. But at present, it is barely beginning to stir. Winter solstice, darkest moment of the year, is when light just begins to return. The ancient kings cared for their people as the earth covers a dormant seed. They contained people's impulse to rush out and resume business as usual, so that the energy for growth would not be squandered in the depths of winter. This is the turning point on your path, a moment to be still and turn inward to listen for little glimmerings and inklings of awareness, to nurture the seeds of a personal sense of direction. Sequence. Returning follows from Hexagram 23, stripping away. Things cannot be completely used up. Stripping away comes to an end on the outside, and there is turnaround on the inside, and so returning follows. After the last firm line leaves the sixth place of Hexagram 23, it returns in the first place of Hexagram 24 on the inside. Things move in cycles. Whenever old growth is stripped away, it is making space for new shoots. And supporting Hexagram 36. Brightness hidden. Key questions. When no one is looking, who are you? How do you safeguard that light? Oracle. Brightness hidden. Constancy in hardship bears fruit. In the last days of the Shang dynasty, as it fell into corruption, Prince Ji was one of the very few virtuous men remaining at court. Remonstrating with the ruler would invite brutal retributions. To flee would be a shameful desertion. The story goes that once the king and his entourage were so drunk they literally didn't know what day it was. Messengers were sent to ask Ji. Rather than reveal himself as the only one who knew, he feigned drunkenness and madness. In this way, he was able to survive through the last days of Shang without compromising his principles by cooperating with the regime. Brightness hidden also means brightness wounded. Since others do not share your standards or insight, it would be dangerous to let the light of your character shine out freely. Perhaps you have been injured. Perhaps you fear injury. Yet you cannot or will not leave the situation in search of a stronger position. Instead, you stay true to the light and keep it burning in these hard times by hiding it away. Image. Brightness enters the earth's center, brightness hidden. A noble one, overseeing the crowds, uses darkness and light. Light enters the earth's center at night. The sun will rise again in the morning. The darkness is simply part of a natural cycle. The noble one understands and uses it as such, in balance with light. There's no need to let the full glare of your insight shine forth all the time, or to force your understanding on those who might not want it. Sequence. Brightness hidden follows from Hexagram 35, advancing. Advancing necessarily has occasion for injury, and so brightness hidden follows. Brightness hidden means injury. As you progress faster, shine more brightly, and expect more from yourself and from life, you naturally become more vulnerable. Changing line 3 from our primary hexagram 24. Returning. Repeated returning. Danger. No mistake. This changing line has the general context of an emerging identity, facing a transition, with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. The road home is not a smooth one. There are constant distractions, interruptions, and setbacks, so that you never quite gather enough momentum for steady progress. Yet, you keep on coming back, covering the same ground and gravitating towards the same place. The danger here lies in the traveling to and fro, than in the deep-seated anxieties this can awaken. And, let me read this again. The danger here lies less in the traveling to and fro than in the deep-seated anxieties this can awaken. When you see meaning only in the setbacks, overlooking the significance of your constant returning, it's easy to feel discouraged to the point of exhaustion. You concede so much power to the things that turn you back that you risk losing your own bearings. Yet the repeated returning is not a mistake. You are returning to your right place, and you may find that with each recommitment, you are gaining in skill and insight. I'm going to read chapter 17 and 79 and apparently 6 of the Tao Te Ching. This is out of Jia Fu Fang and Jane English's translation. The very highest is barely known by men. Then comes that which they know and love. Then that which is feared. Then that which is despised. He who does not trust enough will not be trusted. When actions are performed without unnecessary speech, people say, "We did it." Chapter 79. After a bitter quarrel, some resentment must remain. What can one do about it? Therefore the sage keeps his half of the bargain, but does not exact his due. A man of virtue performs his part, but a man without virtue requires others to fulfill their obligations. The Tao of heaven is impartial. It stays with good men all the time. And 6. The valley spirit never dies. It is the woman, primal mother. Her gateway is the root of heaven and earth. It is like a veil barely seen. Use it. It will never fail.